Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here and checking out the series. Please do hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I am so honored and excited once again to have Graham Nash back with a brand new album this time called Now. Hello, sir.
How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great, and it's great to see you again. Last time we talked, I think it was about a live album, and here we are with brand new studio tracks, and it is such a great listen as always. I mean, I'm sure you've been getting this compliment for, what, 50, 60 years, but congrats on this one.
Yeah, I like this album. It's probably the most personal album I've ever done.
How is that? I mean, again, we're talking decades and decades of writing here. How is it just now that you say this is the most personal?
Because there are more tracks on this album that are my true feelings. You know, I mean, I am a writer. I can write about anything and stuff, but there's something about this album. And at the age of 81, I really want to talk to people. And I mean, it's full of music, of course, but I'm talking to you. And I'm, you know, according to all the replies I've been getting so far, I'm reaching people, and that feels good for me.
Yeah, I mean, the very first line we hear, "I used to think I'd never love again." That's a heavy line to start an album with.
Yep, it is, and it's exactly how I felt. I really did feel, you know, when I turned 80, that, you know, okay, everything's downhill fast from now. But it's not the case. I feel more creative. I feel more alive than I ever did.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Do you have, you know, I think I was lucky, especially growing up, that I always had a lot of friends and mentors who were certain ages older than me and kind of gave me the mile markers to look out for, sometimes the warning signs to look out for. You know, you talk about your expectations of being 80 and what that might be, but do you have any of those people still in your life, or have you had in the past few years or decade?
Yeah, I've lost a couple of people. This 2023 has been terrible for me so far. I mean, you know, I lost one of my oldest friends in England. And my friend Ronnie Stratton, I've known him since he was 16, you know. Obviously, that was followed 3 days later with David passing, which was shocking to me. I mean, you know, I think the truth is that we've expected David to pass 20 years ago. I mean, the fact that he made it to 81 was astonishing. But it was a shock. It was kind of like an earthquake. You know, you get the initial shock, and then you know you've figured out that you survived. But these aftershocks keep coming up, you know, and they're diminishing in size as I go along. But I'm very pleased that David and I were getting closer towards the end there.
Yeah. So you didn't know that he was on his way out?
No, none of us did.
Wow.
I mean, he was rehearsing for a show to do in Los Angeles with a full band. And after 3 days of rehearsals, he felt a little sick, and he'd already had COVID. And he had COVID again. And so he went home and decided that he would take a nap, and he never woke up. But he died in his bed. Yeah. And that is fantastic.
Yeah, I did have him on, didn't feel like too long ago, but it's one of those things when you look back at the interviews and the things he's saying, like, it was almost like he was expecting at any point. But God,
yeah. I mean, he had a good life, you know. I mean, what incredible music he made. He was a fantastic storyteller. I loved him dearly, and you know, in looking back at what separated us, it was just foolish stuff, really. It wasn't. The music is the most important part of our relationship, obviously.
Yeah, and thank God you guys have continued to make it. I mean, yourself with this record, and to kind of bring it back there too. I mean, because I talk about that opening line and everything, and how you say, still living your life right now, and then even how it goes. I mean, love of mine and better life. I mean, the stack at the beginning, at the top of this album, especially. I mean, it does. It seems like you're in a really good spot.
Yes, I am. And that's amazing for me to realize that. So I went from thinking everything was going to be over and I'd never love again, and I'll be on my own. And it's just not working out that way. And I'm fantastically thankful for that.
I love when you say it's not working out that way. Like you say that like, oh, I'm so sorry it's not working. But it's like, congratulations, it's not working out that way.
Yeah, congratulations, it's not working out.
Love of Mine, I did say, what a beautifully gentle song. I find a little hint of something, like a little George Harrison something in
Oh,
there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just love to hear about that one, because that was one of my first favorites as I was listening to it. I just, like, it's gentle, it kept coming to mind, which you've done really well in the
Right.
past on those type of songs.
Love of Mine was written for my wife, Amy. We had been arguing about something, irrelevant, like couples do. And I wanted to let her know that regardless, I love her dearly.
It's an easy sentiment, one that's been written about so many times. Do you have to mold something like that to find your own take on it, or is that just something that comes natural for you?
It comes totally natural for me. I mean, don't forget, I've been writing songs for 60 years. If I'd been a plumber, I'd be a fucking great plumber. After 60 years, I could fix anything. But yeah, I'm not a plumber, thanks.
I have a plumber in my basement right now fixing a line
And there you go.
Nice, bring it back around. So the other side of this, you do get some other trademarks on this album. Songs like Golden Idol, Stars and Stripes, as we talk about how long you've been writing songs, do you consider them in the lineage of some of those 60s and 70s anthems in the same way?
Absolutely. I try and write so that people can know what I'm talking about immediately. I want to get you in the first 3 lines of a song so that you continue to listen. I don't want to write songs where you get to the last verse of a 7-minute song before you figure out what the hell I'm talking about. I want you now. We're talking. This is a conversation. And yeah, this album is a very private, softly whispered conversation.
Yeah. But even though, when I hear that part, when I hear those songs specifically speaking about what's happening today in this conversation style that you're talking about, but I consider when I listen back and I don't know, I guess what I'm getting to is, as a songwriter, I think back to Teach Your Children or something like that, and those were pleas in the same way. I guess what I'm going to quote David Bowie when I say this, like, where are we now?
Where
Like,
are we now?
where are we now when you're talking about these songs?
Right. And I do hope that people want to take part in the conversation. So far, a lot of people are liking it, and if I can get them with the first song, the first release from the record, I think that they would be interested in listening to the rest of it. And then when they do listen to the rest of it, I think at the end of it, they will go, that's a pretty damn fine album.
Well, I mean, you're successful in that, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it does. It just pulls me in. And in each song, I'm holding right there at the beginning. How did you want to tackle those topics this time around? I'll speak specifically with songs like Golden Idol and Stars and Stripes.
With Golden Idol, I saw on the internet, there was a beautiful picture of Trump as a golden idol, and I thought, there's not only him, there's not just Trump doing all this. He needs help to be so awful, and I wanted people to know that there are more people. I mean, look at DeSantis, look at Rick Scott, look at Bobbitt, and there's a lot of Trumps out there, and I just wanted to make sure that people understood that he was not the only golden idol. And Stars and Stripes is a story really about the truth and about how Trump has really distorted the truth. I mean, alternative facts. What? A truth is a fact, period. There are no alternative truths, no alternative facts, like, you know, Kelly said many years ago. And it's something I haven't done that. Normally, when I'm doing 3-part harmony, it builds upwards. But my harmony at the end of Stars and Stripes is going down. Mm. So it's a subtle thing, but I think people will understand what I'm talking about. Because if we lose the truth, we're really screwed, you know?
Yeah, well, we've been in that situation for a few years now, so I hope we haven't lost the truth. That's the
we're still losing it, but it's getting better, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and again, I feel like that's when it ties back to a song like, you know, with Better Life. Like, it's that hope is still there.
Better Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Does I Watched It All Come Down speak to the same things?
No,
by the way,
no, that's purely about CSNY.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wish I'd had the lyrics to that one, because, you know, just in the earbuds, I didn't pick it up quick enough.
Yeah,
What,
it's purely about CSNY.
Yeah. Any reason why you decided?
Sorry.
Oh, go on. Just because any reason why you decided on it to do this one now?
Yeah, because, you know, it was a melody that was driving me crazy in my head. I hadn't put any words to it, and I thought it was a good melody, and, you know, and then I started to think that, you know, I've watched it all come down. I did. I watched it be fantastic, beautiful birth, fantastic middle life, and I watched it all come down, you know, and that's the song.
Yeah. And, you know, life happens how it happens. And you know, especially when you're in those moments, did you have expectations, though, that there would be another round?
No, never have. Not since, no, not for the last couple of years. I don't think that we have to really love each other to be able to make music like that. And when we do love each other, it's fantastic. And when we don't, it's really awful. And that's the way life is, as you say.
Yeah. Well, you know, and not to push too much on that subject, but, you know, I think as fans, everybody got paired up. You know, you became known as, you know, if you were just going to be two, it was usually with Cross or something like that. But I guess what, you know, just out of curiosity, whatever stopped, you know, the you and Steven tour, you and Neil tour, you know, something like that. What like, could that have ever been in the cards?
We love good songs. And if Stephen wrote a song that broke my heart, I'm right there, you know. And if Neil calls and says, "Hey, man, what do you think of this?" and sends me, I'm right there. I'm a musician. I love good songs. You know, I can be as angry as possible with you. You write a good song, my heart melts, and I'm back in being a musician. I can't help it.
I love that. I do. I love that. There's a very, very fun point on this record too, on your new record, and that's Buddy's Back. I hadn't looked at the title, and I just had the album going, and suddenly I hear the song, and I was like, "Oh, cool! What a nice Buddy Holly feel." And then suddenly, like, "Oh no, this is supposed to be a Buddy Holly feel."
Yeah.
Where did this one come from? It's so fun.
I had a set of changes that I, you know, I have this little thing on my iPhone where I can record a little bit. So I had this little rhythmic kind of A to D to E kind of thing, you know, very simple. Most musicians will understand that. And I wanted to let people know just how much Buddy Holly was influential, not only in our lives, but in the world's lives. And the fact is that Buddy Holly only recorded for 15 months. All that stuff was done in 15 months, and he was dead at 22. You know?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And the Hollies, several years ago, were able to take an acoustic track that Buddy had done here in New York City of Peggy Sue Got Married. and it was a purely one acoustic guitar and Buddy's voice. Tony Hicks from the Hollies, the lead guitar player, put it all in a digital form, rearranged the arrangement so that we could sing with Buddy Holly, and we did, and it was a really a nice track. But that was a few years ago, and that was when I said we brought him with us from the past, you know. And if you listen to our old soundtrack, we're all doing Buddy Holly stuff, you know. Yeah. It was a fun song, and I actually wrote it for an album that me and Alan Clark were going to do together, and that didn't work out. But I did sing on many tracks on his new record, and his new single is "Buddy's Back," and he did it with him singing the lead and me joining him in the choruses. On my record, I sing the lead and he joins me in the choruses.
That's fun. You'd put out one of those record store day A-side, B-side things right there. That'd be a fun little...
Exactly. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And we're on the same record label, BMG, strangely enough.
Yeah. Just planting that seed. That's what we're doing right now.
That's right. We're planting seeds.
Make that happen for later. It just brought up the whole Buddy thing. Like, even when I was young, I was just talking about this the other day. You know, as I was young in the 80s, and we had the Time Life cassettes, little pink cassettes, and they had and that's where I found Buddy Holly, you know, and even for my generation, like, but it doesn't seem like he gets his credit these days, you know, like somebody's not marketing his legacy in the same way that someone is Elvis, or, you know.
Well, you know, Buddy wasn't like Elvis. He wasn't shaking his ass, and he wasn't, you know, slicking his hair back and stuff, and he had glasses. I mean, he was one of us. Mm-hmm. We could totally relate to Buddy Holly because we couldn't relate to Elvis. I mean, we did on a wow, look at that, but you couldn't do that with Buddy because he was one of the first bands that actually wrote and played their own instruments and songs. They were a complete band. The Crickets, Buddy and the Crickets were a complete band. Probably one of the first bands that were doing exactly what they did, you know.
Well, I love what you're adding to his legacy with this song. It really is such a fun track on this one.
Thank you.
Yeah. You brought up the Hollies' 60th anniversary. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes. 60 years from the Hollies. Wow.
Yeah. Does that, I mean, I don't know. You guys planning anything? What does it mean to you? 60 years?
What it means to me is this, and I'll be very honest. It's not the Hollies without me and Alan Clark. We started it in December of 1962, and we were the main singers. Tony joined us a little later, but it was the Hollies is not for me. It's purely personal, but the Hollies aren't the Hollies without me and Alan Clark.
Yeah.
So I did. So 60th of what?
60 years since you started the Hollies. We can easily say that part right there, you know.
Yes, we can. We can agree on that too.
Right. When you ever, like, it's amazing when we think about rock and roll and everything that means to it, folk rock, everything that came out of that, everything you all did, but to have seen it all. I mean, do you ever think about the scope and how you were a part of it?
Yes.
And yeah.
I do, and I've been thinking more about it since I've gotten to be this old. You know, I mean, I don't dwell on the past. I don't, you know, I don't listen to Hollies records or early CSN I don't listen to that music. I was there when we made it, and it's in my brain the right way. But yeah, what an incredible life I've had, and I do recognize that I've been there at all the major instances of rock and roll for the last 50 or 60 years. I'm looking back at it now, and it's been an incredible life.
I mean, I don't know. I think if I were in that position, and I probably wouldn't actually do this, but jokingly I say, you know, you just turn on the radio and it's like, that's because of me. That's because of me. That's like the Tentacles. When you think about it, like, even if you start with Buddy Holly or Elvis, like metal music, industrial music, it all has to come because of the stuff that you all were doing in the early days.
That's right. But we didn't know. We didn't know that this would be important 60 years later. we were just happy. We were 5 kids from Manchester that were happy doing what we did. We escaped doing what our father did or what our grandfather did. You know, you're supposed to go down the mine or go into the mill, or, you know, you're supposed to get a real job. You know, my mother and father didn't allow me to do that. They saw my passion and supported me, and I love them for that.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yes,
You made some of the most important music to, I know, my life and a lot of people's life. And so grateful for that.
thank you,
Seriously.
Kyle.
Yeah. So what happens? What happens next? You take it on tour? Is that tours the obvious next thing, I guess, that
I
happens?
I start my tour in early April, and the business has been ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, in Philadelphia, we put 1,000 seats on sale. It sold out in 2 hours. We put another date in there. The next 1,000 sold in 2. I mean, business has been incredible, and it's amazing because I know a lot of people like me, you know,
Hmm.
but a lot of people are realizing that if they ever want to hear any of that stuff that they love so much from CSN and CSNY and the Hollies, they can only come to me and see it. I'm the only one out there that's still doing this. What can I say?
Well, I'll be the greedy fan that says I hope you stop by Louisville again sometime in your travels. We always love having you around here. And if not, I will travel because I have before. Graham, congratulations on another fantastic record.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that you're appreciating it. Thank you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.